Hi, my name is Ken Davidian, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 3 of OT in Space, covering the Oxford Handbook of Organizational Change and Innovation, second edition, edited by Marshall Scott Poole and Andy Van de Ven. Today, we'll be getting an overview of the second major part of the handbook on the topic of the dialectical models of change. As you recall, the dialectical motor is one of four idealized motors of how change occurs. In reality, multiple motors are working at multiple levels of analysis in combination and in dependency with each other, but we'll treat each one separately to better understand their individual attributes and characteristics. You also probably remember from our first episode of OT in Space that the dialectical change motor is based on two ideas, a predominant idea called the thesis and a competing idea called the antithesis. After their competition, what results is something different from the original thesis or antithesis, but it's something new called the synthesis. This is part 2 of the handbook, and it covers 6 chapters, and that's a lot to cover. So I'm going to jump right into it. All right, now, let's go. In chapter 7, paradox theory, the study of management contradictions, and dialectical theory, asserting that contradictions are dynamic and ever-changing, combine together in what is proposed as the contradictions perspective. Interestingly enough, the contradictions perspective seems similar to the subject of chapter 8, the Yin-Yang model of change. This logic model, typical of Eastern thought, states that contradictions don't really exist and are embedded within each other. Chapter 9 focuses on how social movements have changed given advances in information and communication technologies. Generational shifts also contribute to the new ways that social movements are accomplished. And chapter 10 addresses multiple dimensions of change agents. The activist identities that typify change agents are a result of the psychoanalytical perspective, and their antagonistic role toward the society they change is part of a sociological perspective. Chapter 11 discusses the stakeholder model of change, focusing on the ever-dedicated change champions and the change recipients who don't focus exclusively on their own self-interest, but often consider what change means for their colleagues and their organization as a whole. Finally, chapter 12 introduces the critical management studies, focusing on the societal and class relationship impact of management studies, management's dominance, and management's taken for grantedness. So before I talk about how the dialectical models of change impact the space sector, I wanted to map out where each of the chapters we're covering, each of the chapters, falls on the hierarchical level of analysis chart. The first 3 chapters of the handbook fall into the category of overview topics and are not really part of the org theory hierarchy. Chapter 4, 8, and 9 are at the highest societal level of analysis, and the rest of the chapters are at the organizational level, chapters 5 and 11, or the intra-organizational levels, including chapter 6, 7, and 10. It'll be interesting to see how this chart fills up as we progress through the rest of the handbook. I think the chapters on social movements and change agents are super important to the space industry right now because we're trying to invoke a change to encourage the existing space activities to continue on, but also to encourage new activities in the non-governmental sector to increase. So this is a societal change that we're trying to impact. So understanding how to more effectively execute social movements and become change agents for that movement will be very, very important. That's all for this time. And next time on OT in Space, we'll give an overview of the third of the 7 handbook parts, this one discussing the life cycle motor of change. I hope you found the material interesting, and if so, please subscribe or hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss what comes next. OT in Space is produced by Impossible Research, LLC. Impossible Research, or IRL, mainly conducts process research on the topics of innovation and industry emergence within the context of commercial space industries. IRL also offers research consulting and STEAM outreach. This video is intended for educational purposes only.